Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we are here live at the World Trade Center for a multi-state operator panel. Today, my guests include Wes Abney, Justin Ruiz, Jerry Derevyanny, and Kacey Morrissey. Wes is the mad genius behind the Northwest Leaf, a cannabis magazine prioritizing the patient's voice. Co-founded in Seattle in 2010, they celebrated their 100th issue last October, and they'll celebrate their 9th anniversary next month in June. Northwest Leaf, Oregon Leaf, and Alaska Leaf are monthly magazines that cover cannabis from every angle. The magazine has been a leader in providing high-quality journalism, photography, and a web hub for both the recreational and medicinal marijuana community. In July of 2014, Wes expanded with the Oregon Leaf, and in 2016 launched Alaska Leaf, then recently expanded to the East Coast with the Maryland Leaf. Wes is also the co-host of the Leaf Life podcast, as well as a cannabis producer-processor in Washington, Alaska, Oregon, and Nevada, with access to over 1,000-store distribution channel, making cannabis-infused edibles called Leafchews and a medical version called Leafchews. Next up is Justin Ruiz, owner of Hypeherbally Cannabis Shop. Justin has been heavily involved in the cannabis space since 1999 when he got involved with HempFest, first as a fellow protester, and then he began supporting the event through vending in 2007. In 2011, Justin established Hypeherbally, a medical marijuana dispensary, recently reopened as a 21 and over licensed cannabis rec shop. Justin is proud to have helped pioneer the Washington cannabis industry as we know it today, and has been busy creating a lifestyle brand around Hypeherbally, named #1 name in Washington State by the Seattle Times. Last year, Justin and Wes launched a shuttle tour service together called Higher Than a Space Shuttle. Justin, thanks for coming on board. From New York commercial litigator to general counsel of the largest recreational company in Washington State, Jerry Derevyanny is the executive vice president of corporate development and director of Cannex Capital Group. Cannex was founded in 2017 and is managed by a team of experienced industry and capital markets experts who are committed to aggressive, cost-effective growth. Cannex facilitates growth through cash flow from operations, strategic acquisitions, partnerships, and by leveraging the expertise of its experienced operational team. Cannex provides a range of comprehensive and flexible growth options for licensed cannabis cultivators, processors, and/or rec shops domestically and internationally, including providing turnkey real estate with operational infrastructure as well as long-term advisory and consulting services. Cannex is a publicly traded company listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange under the symbol CNNX. And remotely, today we have Kacey Morrissey with us. She's the Director of Industry Analytics at New Frontier Data. Educated as an engineer with experience in institutional asset management, Morrissey brings a unique blend of technical analytical abilities, intuitive market awareness, and a high-level understanding of institutional risk management to the cannabis industry. Since joining New Frontier Data in 2015, she's developed economic models to produce some of the most accurate and widely quoted industry market projections in the legal cannabis industry, as well as produce the first preliminary analysis of global cannabis demand. Prior to joining New Frontier, Morrissey was a senior investment analyst at the Hershey Trust Company, where she was responsible for public and private equity investment, due diligence, and analysis for the Trust's $12 billion investment portfolio. Today's multi-state operator panel is hosted at the World Trade Center. The World Trade Center in Tacoma grows trade and investment by providing direct access to the largest business network in the world with 300 offices in 99 countries. The World Trade Center in Tacoma is the lone trade service for the Pacific Northwest. The seminars, award ceremonies, and conferences can generate contacts and contracts. Trade research can clarify opportunities, and their matchmaking can turn those opportunities into trade. The e-commerce export store has partnered with Alibaba and is translated into 18 languages with about 40,000 unique visitors every month, giving your product an opportunity to be seen globally. The culture is definitely being affected by the Canadian marketplace, but we're seeing some anomalies up in Canada for the first time. Initial sales for concentrates, for example, have decreased. That's the only market we've ever seen where sales have dipped in concentrate. The only thing I can attribute that to is a high price with low quality. But regardless, the Canadian cannabis market is slowing. We can see that in the data. I'm inferring what that means by high price, low quality. But the U.S. is accelerating. So, Jerry, looks like investors sense the Canadian cannabis market growth is flattening somewhat as it's plagued by supply shortages and disappointing earnings, maybe some overpriced, low-quality items. So in contrast, more U.S. states are legalizing recreational cannabis at a much larger market than Canada's. Cannabis companies are keenly aware that they could be bought. For those looking to be acquired, the one common question they all have beforehand is, how will this move position them as a potential acquisition target. You've recently gone through a merger yourself. How can these companies position themselves as a potential acquisition target?
Well, I think one of the number one things that they have to do as we move forward is really focus on the fundamentals of the business, because a lot of what was being done before was a little bit, there was a time in Canada a couple of years ago that you could raise money on a PowerPoint and just a really pretty presentation, and investors were throwing money at it. Those times are gone. And I think the way that people position themselves now is have something authentic and good that you own, and people will come now that there's access to capital and these bigger players with capital. They want to deploy it in places, and they definitely want to look for real opportunities. One thing that we see, unfortunately, is that it's a lot of like a rumor market, and you'll hear these kind of crazy prices that you think somebody else got, and then it spirals out of control, and it leads to some really unrealistic asks on the part of targets now, where they have some really inflated expectations, and they don't appreciate. There would be companies that we would be talking to that had, they would basically say, well, okay, well, you sell 10, we sell 5, so give us 50%, and just as an example. And we would come back and say, well, you're not public. You have, you don't get that kind of multiple. Like, there's a reason why these differences exist. I think having a good operational understanding of your business, and then having, honestly, just dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure you're compliant, make sure your licenses are good, make sure the taxes is always an issue, the 280E kind of issue. Just make sure you try to be as clean as possible on that, and that you get all the hair out up front. But I think for the people that are able to do that, there's a huge opportunity, and that they can join a growing platform. And honestly, in some of these places, they can help steer that. They can have an outsized influence on the direction of that platform, because that platform will honestly just look for operational type leaders. And I think the natural effects of that are going to be really good.
And with that, we're out of time. I want to thank my guests for coming on. Jerry with Cannex Capital Group and Forefront, thank you. I want to thank Wes Abney of the Northwest Leaf and Leafchews. Justin, I appreciate you coming out. He's with Hypeherbally. Also, him and Wes joined up for the Higher Than a Space Shuttle. And Kacey with New Frontier Data, I appreciate you being on the line with us today.
Thanks so much.
All right, talk to you later. Bye. Bye, Kacey. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is a Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out.